Education Abroad is back, Jackrabbits. This program has ample offerings, giving students the chance to learn across the world. Here with me today is Education Abroad Director Sally Gilman to talk about how students can take advantage of these fantastic learning opportunities. Thanks for being here today, Sally.
You are so welcome.
So I know Education Abroad has had a hiatus for a little while, but this summer we're really ramping up with some programs just to give students a little bit of an idea of where students are going, like Jack Start Abroad, and I know there's a ton of other study abroad programs. Where are students going this summer?
Students are going lots of different places, but mostly they're going to Europe because Europe is open. Europe has done a really great job of managing and mitigating COVID-19. So our students are going to Italy, they're going to the United Kingdom, they are going to Winnipeg, Canada. Mm-hmm. Even though it's close by, it's still an international location. Yeah. They're going to Spain for an intensive language and internship. And then I have students just going to kind of other places. They're certainly going to Ireland, and some are even going to Germany. So I would say at the moment, I think I could probably count several hundred students that will be going abroad for this summer.
Which is so good to hear. Students have been earning for these opportunities for a while. Let's talk about Jack Start Abroad. A lot of people think, okay, I have to be at SDSU to start my abroad journey, but that's not necessarily true. Jack Start Abroad, their first year students, before they even start at SDSU, going abroad. And tell me about those programs a little bit.
We began the Jack Start Abroad programs in 2015-16, and what we thought would be a really grand idea turned out to be just that. Students who are just fresh out of high school, before they step foot in their first freshman class on campus, we whisk them into a kind of a pre-departure orientation and getting students ready for college with some very strategic and intentional practices. We're going to teach them how to ask good questions. We're going to teach them how to reflect and go deep on an answer that they might have to a question that's posed in their freshman classes. But we're also exploring themes as we have done in the past several years. Especially this year and other years as well, we like exploring the theme of identity. One, because all college students seem to wrestle with their own personal identity, but identity goes bigger than that. Countries wrestle with identity. People who live on the borders of country, if they live right on the border of France and Germany, who are they and how do they know about that? So this summer we have 3 programs, one to Scandinavia, one to Ireland, and one to Strasbourg. And all of those focusing in on identity. But interestingly, each piece looks very different. So for Ireland, are you British? Are you Irish? For Scandinavia, this is where we're exploring indigenous cultures, and we're going to compare and contrast those with the indigenous people of South Dakota. So we're excited about that, and that program is really filling fast.
That's awesome. So prospective students, if you're ever thinking about studying abroad early on, before you even start your career here necessarily, there are those opportunities. You don't necessarily have to go abroad alone. Like this program, it's a group.
Correct.
Group trip.
Yes, it's a group. And I would say many students, that's a really big myth, that if you come to the Education Abroad office and you want to talk about going abroad, we have lots of offerings. I could probably point to 1,000 different things you could do at different times, in different places, but I never am going to get a student and pluck them from here and drop them in the middle of a country and say good luck. We always have a place that has on-site staff And the way it works is that people go abroad in cohorts. Now, you may be the only one from South Dakota State University going abroad, but once you get there and you get into your on-site orientation, that typically happens just days after you arrive, you're going to meet people from Nebraska, North Dakota, California, maybe the UK, maybe South Korea, maybe New Zealand. But what's interesting is you all have some sort of fascination about that particular program. You are all drawn there together. And I like to tell students, out of that group, you often meet your new best friend.
Absolutely. And faculty here at SDSU tend to lead their own excursions as well. Can you give me some examples of that?
Of course. We have incredible faculty at South Dakota State University. We have faculty who love teaching a class in an international location. Many times they begin that class right here in South Dakota and then make those travel plans for students, take them abroad, and then they make those connections. And watching students see how something really plays out in the world is very exciting. So, for example, we just had a wonderful class come back from South Africa. They went for animal science and were able to see lots of different animals, as well as learn about how animals are managed in South Africa. Coming up this summer, we have faculty who are taking a program to Italy, where they're actually exploring wellness by design. So thinking about how landscapes are created and then how does that contribute to your personal wellness. We have a program going to London that's looking at interior design, both commercial and residential. And we have a program that's going to Spain, and it allows students to sort of improve their fluency in Spanish language and do an internship with a business that really makes sense for their career path. So that's been incredibly strong. The group that's going up to Winnipeg in Canada is the Honors College, sure. And they are exploring some of the really interesting things in Winnipeg, especially the Museum of Human Rights, and they're going to get a nice sense of, it's not very far away, but how different we really are and what kind of rich environment Winnipeg has to offer students and others who visit there. So that will be also a very exciting program. We have students going on what I call provider organization programs. This is exactly what it sounds like, an organization who provides me with an opportunity and I can provide that to a student so that they can find something that maybe is right within their major or at least maybe within their interest area. We've got lots of things around the world. You could probably just name anything and I'm going to be able to find it for you. It just depends on when. You can't get started too far out. So right now, I don't really have a lot for spring 2023, but by early August, I will. That's when those programs start showing up. And in addition, our faculty, they are all thinking about their programs for next summer. So they will be getting those proposals done and into me. And some of the programs that we hoped that would go this year, a program to London and Paris for fashion, and a program to Japan and South Korea for graphic design. It just didn't work to go based on quarantines. So next summer, those will be hot to go. So those will be great opportunities for our students.
There are so many different things to pick from. There really is something for everyone if you're interested in going abroad. And one thing I think that students kind of have a preconception of is they think, oh, I have to go for an entire summer or an entire semester or academic year. That's not true. Some of these study abroad opportunities are really only a couple of weeks long if you want them to be.
That's exactly right. We've had programs that are a week to 7 weeks long that are run by our faculty leaders. The other kinds of programs that we have that I mentioned are with providers. They can offer students a full semester, so spring and fall. They could offer them this whole summer semester, sometimes they divide that up because not everybody can be gone for a full summer. And there are opportunities at winter break. Sometimes it doesn't match up with ours, but sometimes it does. So that's an opportunity, especially for a student who says, oh my gosh, I forgot to go abroad. Well, I know you're graduating in May, but sometimes just that winter break program will give you something that's of great value to you. So that's really worthwhile. And then we have spring break programs. We have those through our faculty-led, also through some of our providers.
Let's talk a little bit about a topic that students and their families all kind of dread, is cost. A lot of students think, I can't do this because it's too expensive. And it can be expensive, honestly, but there are ways to make it work.
Absolutely right. There are ways to make it work. The semester programs are programs on which you can use your federal financial aid. So if you receive scholarships here at South Dakota State University and you choose to do a semester somewhere else, those scholarships can apply. And we help you to create the budget that you will take over to financial aid so they can help you with what you're going to need for that cost of attendance at a school or during an internship abroad. The idea that education abroad is really expensive is very valid. Some who go abroad for a full academic year, that can be really expensive. However, if you're willing to do an exchange program and pick from sort of a finite list, one that it doesn't have 1,000 options on it, but if you look at a list and you can identify something that really is going to tick boxes for you, so for example, you're interested in really becoming fluent in German, and yet you also want to maybe take some classes that will fit with your major of global studies right back here. Going abroad on an ISEP exchange program is going to serve you. The cost is going to be SDSU tuition, SDSU housing, SDSU meal plan, with the addition of your passport and an airplane ticket. And then, of course, the things that you always spend at college, contact lens solution, shampoo, pencils, going out for a pizza, all those kinds of things. That would be the most affordable option for you, where you can just pay right here. And honestly, just that airplane ticket is going to be the difference that you're going to have to take care of. But otherwise, it's just like being right here at home.
So we've talked about all the opportunities that students can take advantage of and how they can make it happen. But most importantly, why should they want to study abroad?
I think there are lots of reasons that students should want to study abroad, but it's so individual. And many times students can't at the very beginning articulate what their goals are about going abroad. We do ask, but many times it's not tangible to them until they come back. So it's a matter of getting them to trust the people who are guiding them lots of different times to provide advice. But what I can say is that employers are very interested in students who've been abroad. And the reason for that is that what employers have seen with students who've been abroad is their adaptability, their level of independence, how flexible they are. Their problem-solving abilities often are a bit more global. In addition, that those students have now established networks with all the people that were in their cohort with them. So they bring to that employer a network of people where if they're being asked a question that is maybe focused on something that's going on in Japan, those students know how to reach out to someone and get that. As well as just being a better global citizen and having better intercultural knowledge. What does it mean to live in another country? What do they do well? What have you learned that maybe as an American, maybe we could do better? So you get this other view of not only yourself, but of organizations, of the world, and even in this historical time. How are they managing the issues that have, kind of come up and kind of gotten in the way of what we thought of was our usual life? We've had a pandemic. We've had all kinds of things that maybe made people feel, well, I could never do that. Now we can. Now we're going to have to manage differently. But I promise you, the students who've been abroad this spring semester, the stories I'm hearing from them are fantastic. How did they manage some of the things that they didn't know they had in them? And I like to call what I try to do with students is helping them to develop grit. And that means perseverance in the face of something you didn't think you could do, but all of a sudden with no one else around, maybe a couple of buddies that you've made, you're the one saying, here's a decision and this makes the most sense. And after you've made that decision and everything worked out, the level of pride you have, that sense of self-efficacy is huge. And so students come back and they say, oh my gosh, I hardly know who I am. But what I will say is now I feel like I can do anything.
That's great. Definitely grow as a person, for sure. Students who are looking to pursue education abroad further, how can they do that?
Well, we're very visible all of fall semester. First and foremost, we're always at the sort of the opening events that take place so that we can showcase that we are here on campus. We always have a very large education abroad fair where we have our provider organizations come, our partners from the other side of the world come, as well as our faculty leaders who are planning a program for the next summer. They're likely to be there showing up, trying to get you to think about what they might be doing. In addition, we're always willing and able to do classroom presentations. And then we often have online sessions for scholarships, our kind of info sessions about education abroad, so that students can kind of jump into an Education Abroad 101 presentation all across fall semester. I think that's sort of our biggest time to get the word out. And we often tell our incoming freshmen, that it's never too early to sort of get started with what you're thinking about. Because in fact, what we're doing in Education Abroad is still a collaboration with the student and their academic advisor. That's where we want to partner with those people to make sure that what you're doing is going to make sense. Can you get the classes you need? Or if you're exploring your heritage one summer, what does that look like? So I would say just look out for us. We're going to be everywhere.
Thanks so much for being here today, Sally, to talk about education abroad and all these opportunities that students can take you up on. This is Between Classes. Thanks for listening.